Good
Okay.
afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you all coming from all over the Americas. We are today with the founder of Cultural Cuba, David Lee. David Lee has a wonderful webinar and experience to share with us and information. And David Lee, the screen is yours.
Excellent. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Um, what I'll try to do, because I think, what was it, Dominique, last time, I believe, for me anyway, it was, I think we had over an hour of Q&A. It was a
Yes.
record.
Yeah.
And I love that part myself, and I want to make sure we have plenty of time to answer everyone's questions and not keep everyone beyond 45 minutes to an hour. I know everyone's busy, so I'm going to try to just run through the slideshow part of this as quickly as I can, so we can, and then I'll just come back on screen and we can chat both about what I talked about and just get as many of your questions answered as possible. And for those of you who actually attended a webinar we did, I don't know if there's some repeat people on here. Are there, Dominique? If not, I'm gonna skip this little blurb. If there are some, there is some new information we're going to talk about, which is the title of this webinar, and we will repeat a little bit of the stuff we went over before, so the new people on here will learn more about just travel to Cuba in general. But okay, so let me share the screen now, and
There we go.
There we go. Okay, everybody sees that?
Yes, we do.
That's actually that picture you're looking at, by the way, is the view from the rooftop of the Kempinski Manzana Hotel, which is it's a true 5-star hotel for those who have not are not as familiar with the chain, the Kempinski chain, first of all. But it's the first Kempinski in the Americas. Despite a few other really nice 5-stars that have been built in the last couple of years, this one is still definitely the cream of the crop as far as full service hotels are concerned. And that view is just, it's absolutely spectacular. But okay, let's jump in here. We talk about, and I know this is, I think, rapidly becoming probably the top buzzword of 2021, this idea of meaningful travel with a purpose. And I'll tell you what, I couldn't personally be happier. I really hope that this isn't just a short-lived fad. And I know I've had this conversation with so many people in the industry who feel the same way. And we hope it's not just one of those things that born out of COVID and these difficult times, but it will be like a snowball running down a hill. And I'll tell you why. My entire company was set up for this purpose. We are not redoing anything, really. I mean, we might add certain experiences to the things that we already do, but the concept of our entire business and our mission was that discovery of what everything that there is, the culture in Cuba, is paramount to what we wanted to achieve through the creation of Cultural Cuba. And I will get more into that, of course, as we move forward. But again, I don't also want this idea to become something that feels like pressure or changes the idea of a vacation, because let's face it, for most people, they are also traveling for rest and relaxation and a getaway, and it shouldn't feel like an obligation to this idea of meaningful travel. And so from our perspective, every single trip we do has immersive itineraries. They're always small, private, and individual. And because everything is custom, we build in this concept of meaningful travel no matter what. And it doesn't mean, that you have to be traveling somewhere and I don't know, going somewhere and building a house for someone, for example, even though that's an amazing thing to do. The point is, it can be interspersed in every single trip that you do, even if the main desire is simply to get away for rest, relaxation, and a reset. Okay, so continuing on, just a quick thing to clear up any confusion around travel to Cuba, especially for Americans, but also for everyone else in the world. Cuba is open. They did the right thing during COVID in March of 2020. They shut down their international airport in an attempt to really, stop COVID in its tracks, and they really largely succeeded. To this date, I think there's less than 8,000 total cases of coronavirus on the entire island, just a few hundred fatalities. They did that despite, obviously, the immense damage it does to their economy from a tourism perspective, but it was necessary. But now the international airport is open. There are some things in place due to COVID, which obviously is always changing. We know that in almost every destination. What's happening right now because of COVID may be completely different 3-4 months from now. But again, we'll get into that. From the U.S. perspective, the Trump administration created, mostly what he created was confusion. The things that he did, which were done with simply a wave of the pen and didn't require Congress approval, made people feel that maybe it was no longer legal for Americans to travel to Cuba, or Cuba was literally closed to them. That is not the case. In fact, probably our biggest growth years were 2017, 18, and 19, all during the Trump administration. So the reasons that Americans can travel there are still the same. They took out one category, which quite frankly, our company never used anyway. And the fact is, it's open. The airlines have started traveling there again as well. There are daily nonstops from several big cities in the US, 3 or 4 a day from places like Fort Lauderdale and Miami. It couldn't be easier to get to. So, and the category that is, quote unquote, the legal category, one of the main ones for Americans to travel there, which is called support for the Cuban people. That is really the whole basis, like I said, going back to the very first slide when we talked about meaningful travel. That is the whole basis that we set up our business. The general idea there is that the majority of funds that someone spends, let's again, an American citizen spends on travel to Cuba should go to the people, the Cuban people, and not to the Cuban government. That's really the kind of gist of that whole category. And it's something that we firmly believe in as well. And we've taken it even further because our company now, we invest all of the profits beyond the expenses for us to do our trips back into a variety of community projects, a dance company, a school that we'll talk about later, a few other activities that we do, but we pump it right back into support for the Cuban people. So in that regard, it doesn't matter. Every single trip that your clients take with us certainly is meaningful travel and sustainable. So I already talked more about what support for the Cuban people is. And again, I touched on the fact that about the 100% of the profits going back. So we'll move on from here. Quick kind of explanation also about the main, I guess, area that sets ourselves apart. Cultural Cuba is a full service, soup to nuts. We're primarily FIT, although we do certainly do MICE type travel as well, event planning and that sort of thing. But primarily what we do is provide full custom private travel to the island of Cuba. And that is from everything from the accommodations to the private guide, private drivers, and their fully customized itinerary. You will not see on our website a a group trip with a cookie cutter itinerary on fixed dates. That's not what we do. Group sizes don't matter because we will do trips anywhere from 2 people to, 100 people. But the concept is every trip is unique, every trip is private and customized for your clients. And that's critical, and not just for the activities that they do, but the type of travel pacing, the type of accommodations that they want to stay in, and even the type of guide that we provide for them. They're handpicked to make sure they'll be the best match for your clients. And as far as guides, drivers, and everyone is concerned, I also want you to understand we are not an outsourcing company. We don't outsource to the Cuban government. We have an office in Havana. It's our staff, it's our guides. There is nothing that comes between your clients and their trip to Cuba besides yourself and us. We are not just simply, repackaging someone else's tours. Okay, getting back again to this idea of travel with a purpose, aside from the fact, as I talked about, that every trip that we do has a cultural aspect to it. First of all, for American clients, one of the restrictions for them is that at this time, unless it changes, and we don't know what might happen under the Biden administration, but at this time, the one restriction that Americans do face is they cannot simply go to Cuba and stay at a beach for multiple nights without also, having some cultural immersion. So, Cuban beaches are gorgeous. The island is surrounded, obviously, by water on all sides. They have, beaches that are more secluded, beaches that are more crowded. However, at this time, it's mostly all-inclusive hotels. And that's fine for a lot of travelers. But my point is that, at this stage, we don't do a lot of that. And quite frankly, it's not completely legal for an American to just simply go to the beach. So beyond that, almost everything about the trip that they take is cultural immersion. And it fits right into this concept of meaningful travel and travel with a purpose. But there are some specific things that might be a little more immersive, a little more interactive that we offer. And again, because everything we do is custom, it's completely up to your clients to choose. One of them that is a lot more intense is, sustainable farming is something that is let's go back, say 15, 20 years ago, or a little bit further. The agriculture in Cuba was mostly centered around sugarcane, and they were trading it with Russia, actually in the Soviet Union when it was still the Soviet Union. And that greatly supported their economy. When the Soviet Union collapsed, so did their sugarcane trade. And unfortunately, they didn't keep up a strong agricultural environment, despite having such great soil and a great climate, obviously, for it. So one of the things that they're trying, so to this day, the majority of calories are being imported instead of being exported from Cuba. And it's a problem for their economy. It's a problem for the people. So there's this big push to develop organic farming. And we've gotten involved in that as well. And therefore, clients who are really interested in that can come onto a farm, literally work, volunteer to do a little bit of work on the farm, then create themselves a delicious, cook alongside a chef at a delicious organic meal and enjoy that, with the actual farmers during their visit. That's one example. Another one, one of the companies that we support fully is called Havana Compass Dance. They had developed this incredible new dance style that basically a fusion of traditional Latin dance with Afro-Cuban rhythm. And they've gone so far that all of the dancers learn percussion. It's become part of the dance style. It's high energy. It's just phenomenal to watch and experience. When we first discovered them, they were working in a very small studio with literally 2 walls and half of a roof. And this was 10 years ago. Now they are we're very proud of the fact that they're probably the preeminent, dance company in Cuba. They've toured internationally. And because it's a new dance style, they needed to create a school. in order to teach this. So they created this school completely free of charge. Children as young as 7 come into the school, and this is after their normal schooling. They come to this dance school, it again, completely free of charge because it's all sponsored. And by the time they are, say, 16, they then can try out to be part of the professional and touring company. So our sponsorship includes the school and the dance company. And I'll tell you, it's a highlight for our clients to be able to go to their studio, experience the music. And in many cases, depending on the group, we also set up a complete show, a private show. We've done some on the rooftop of the Kempinski, on the rooftops of various polydars within the city. It's just an amazing experience. In addition to that, we also support several different musicians and bands, and we bring our clients either into their homes or into other areas, and they meet the musicians and participate in the music. It doesn't even matter if you are a musician. I mean, if you're a musician, we encourage them to actually perform with the musicians. But even if you're not, it becomes this give and take, and it's like having a private jam session, literally in someone's home with a friend who happens to be a musician. It's a fabulous experience. Let's see. The other one that is a highlight and something we're also very proud of, we support a preschool in Old Havana, which was created to help children. These are not orphans. These children come from troubled homes within the Old Havana neighborhood. Either one of their parents might be incarcerated, a parent is a prostitute. There are situations at play here where the children don't have a place to be during the day. These are kids who are too young yet to enroll in kindergarten, which then becomes the official government schooling system. So ages 2 to 5. And they come into this preschool. It's an educational situation. Most of them are taught to read. So by the time they graduate from the preschool and go to kindergarten, they're already reading. So it's like a Head Start program. But they're also served 2 nutritious meals a day. They receive clothing, arts and crafts. It's just an incredible place. And we try to have most of our clients at least spend, a half hour with these kids, either doing an art project, singing, reading stories to them. It's just a fantastic opportunity, and something that most of the travelers say usually is a highlight. They got as much as they received. They received as much as they gave from that kind of opportunity. Cooking alongside a Cuban chef, and at the same time, cooking classes, it's a common thing, right? It's very popular. It's a wonderful thing to do if you have a chance, no matter where you're traveling to. The difference when this happens in Cuba is learning what it takes to run a private restaurant in a country where, like I said, they export most of their ingredients. And how can you maintain an organic kitchen, a kitchen with a menu, and still be able to provide a high quality of food day in and day out in a system where there's still an embargo and shortage of agriculture among every other ingredient that you need, right? There's no market like in most cities that a chef can simply go to in the morning and pick out the best produce and then go somewhere else and pick out the best meats and the best dairy products, etc. It's very, very challenging. And it's so eye-opening for the clients, not just to go and eat cuisine, but to really learn what it takes to do something like this in this type of a country. Okay, private photo safari as well. We have some relationships with some of the very best photographers that exist in Cuba. And that opportunity to not just walk through a neighborhood, but do it through the eyes of one of these photographers. And again, you don't have to be a serious, almost professional or hobbyist photographer yourself. You can just come with your smartphone or iPhone, and these guys will show you a side of life in these neighborhoods that you never would normally see. and in a way that you won't see it. And the kinds of photographs that you come back with, are completely different than your standard, let's go to the tourist hotspot kind of situation. So a little bit more about our guides, first of all. Of course, they are bilingual, completely fluent in English, conversationally as well as written. They're all very, very well educated. Many of them even have master's degrees. But the thing that's most important about our guides, they understand the idea that what we're trying to achieve here is not simply someone who's spouting out history lessons or pointing out this statue or this date when this happened as you're driving by and looking out the window. The whole idea here is to give you the experience that you are traveling with a good local friend. That's what they're all about. That's the idea that we're creating here, and our guides get this. We wouldn't bring them onto our team if they didn't already have that innate sensibility. And this is what it's like, and I'll tell you, it works. Our guides do end up being long-term friends with most of our clients. And they're very special people, very warm, very inviting, and they want you to know about their culture. They have a lot of pride in it, and they should. So this comes out. And again, the other thing that they also understand is the idea of a private trip should not be one where you are ever a prisoner to your itinerary that, again, we create before the trip. Spontaneity, flexibility, that is critical. And our guides understand that as well. So they're there to facilitate changes along the way, because no one really knows exactly what they want and how they want their travel to go until they're in the midst of it and experiencing it. And that's how the guides also, that's one of the key things that they need to be doing while the trip is going on. Okay, so now I'm just going to touch on a few of the other questions that we get asked very, very, very often, and then I will again jump off the screen actually put myself back on screen so I can talk to all of you directly and hear your questions. First of all, once again, of course, you do not have to be part of a big tour group. In fact, that's exactly what we don't do. If you have a big group, it's because it's a private group that you happen to be a part of. But all of our trips are private and completely individual. Therefore, no specific dates. And never do we create rigid, overscheduled itineraries. Cuba is one of those places. There is so much to offer. There is so much to see and do. It literally appeals to everyone from all walks of life, all different ages and generations, which is why it is a wonderful location for multi-gen. It's fine for families with children and all the way up. I will add one caveat: because it's not a place where there are fast food restaurants or pharmacies on every corner, it's a little more challenging for children that are not used to traveling and are maybe under the age of 7 or 8. But other than that, it's phenomenal and wonderful for special birthday celebrations, special anniversaries. We do a lot of destination weddings now. It's the kind of place where you can just do so many interesting things, and there's such incredible music and artists and the dancing, and bringing all of that into these special celebrations really makes it incredibly memorable. Let's go on. The COVID situation, I'll tell you real quickly what it is right now, okay? Again, I told you as far as being afraid of getting COVID by going there, I can assure you, I don't know where everybody exactly on this call is from, but it's pretty hard to find a location with a smaller percentage of COVID existing right now. So if I personally was able to have been there during the worst parts of this, instead of being in the US, I would have been far, far safer. So again, we are following every single CDC protocol for our guides, our drivers, our vehicles, of course, every accommodation, whether it's a luxury hotel, a small boutique hotel, or a private villa that we would have clients stay at. We will follow all those precautions as well. Currently, they require everyone who flies in to have had a negative not PCR, just a negative test within 72 hours of their arrival. Cuba, however, doesn't trust that 100%, so they will also test every single person when they land. They conduct a PCR test. I've already been twice since November, so I've experienced it myself. It's very efficient. You get a little card, and here's the one key caveat. And again, I expect this to change, but because PCR tests are not instant, the traveler is required to stay at their accommodation for the first 24 hours. Then once 24 hours expires, even if they haven't been contacted, it means they're negative and they're free to continue on with their tour. So I do want to mention that that's an important point, but that's today. And honestly, we're not sure how far into the future that requirement's going to exist. Cuba will be, they've developed their own vaccine. It's in the last stage of testing, and apparently they're going to be administering it to their population very soon. So that'll affect things also. You know, I'll talk about this stuff later when we do a little bit more Q&A, but at the end of the day, we're going to be as flexible as we possibly can with booking cancellations and that sort of thing, due to this new environment that we're all living in. Absolutely no penalty for trip postponements due to COVID-19 concerns. That's just simple. We have to do it, and we're doing it. So, okay. Let me pop back on and we'll move forward. Oh, quick thing for everyone who's, most of you obviously on the call are travel advisors. We will, of course, do net pricing. Find that that's even the easiest way to do it for you. And then you can tell us how much you'd like us to add. We don't, you know, the percentage is not really our issue. You are our main, you know, outside sales force. In fact, to the extent that we do not market direct to end clients. We really are pretty much 100% B2B and love working with our travel advisor partners. We've taken that to such an extent now that the only area I think that we did any type of, let's call it more direct marketing, would have been when we were on this Wendy Perrin wow list, and we have taken ourselves off of that completely because we just, you know, we want to work through travel advisors. That's where we get our best clients from, and so, you know, we're just not doing any direct marketing to anyone else. So again, commission's important. We will build it in. We can talk about it before we even do a proposal. We can send you a net price, and then you can tell us, you know, how much we should add, and then we resend a proposal so that it's very simple for you to simply send it on to your clients. Okay. I'm gonna back on the screen here.
David, are we ready to start the questions? And or did you have a few more things to say?
No, I'm just closing up. There we go. Okay.
Thank you very much. I don't know, I will look through, but someone was said, I want to do everything, and me too. I was thinking I want to do with a farmer, and then I said, no, I'm going to do the dancing. No, also I want to do the school, and I'm like, okay. I don't know if there is a plan where we can do everything.
Listen, there's, you know, we try without overscheduling people, obviously, you know, and it always depends on who the client is, right? And what they're, you know, they get up and go, and I want to maximize everything, and, you know, get up early and get going and see and do as much as possible. There's a lot that can be done just in and around Havana. So believe it or not, like almost everything I wrote, I put up there would be done in a 3 to 4 night trip.
4 nights.
Without plus a lot more that we didn't even talk about, right?
Already was.
So maybe not a farm experience. I mean, because that's a full half day and it takes 45 minutes or an hour to get there. You know, that's something much more specific.
That was the first experience. So I was like, oh yes, this one was really interesting. So the more you came out, it's like, I don't know, but that was really nice. Thank you. So, yeah. Shari, I think David answered to your question. Cultural Cuba works B2B only. Sherry, you also want to know if Cultural Cuba assists with the visa process. Oh,
yes, I shouldn't leave that out. Absolutely. In fact, we write our own visas here from our U.S. office. So we provide the visas. Usually, it's already in there for the clients. That's for American clients specifically, though, and the reason that is for clients coming from, Europe, from Latin, South America, everyone needs a visa. They often call it tourist cards. That's what you'll see on like the Cuban government website. They don't really refer to it as a visa. Everyone needs one. The ones for people traveling in from countries not from, from Canada, again, from Latin America or Europe, are much less expensive and can be purchased at the airport very simply. So for those clients, we don't provide it, but for our American clients, it's included. And we FedEx the visas either to you if you prefer that, or directly to the clients, about 2 weeks before their trip.
Melissa, who attended your previous webinar, thank you, Melissa. You mentioned something about festive, that they closed down for the holiday. So how can they handle a festive request for Cuba? What do you suggest?
No, Cuba doesn't close down for the holiday. There might be some things that are closed on certain dates, but it won't necessarily be for the entire, time that the client is there. So it really depends. And I'll be honest, it changes every year as well. One of the things that's often closed during festive are the cigar factories. Their workers also need to have time off and be with their families. So there are certain things like that unfortunately just aren't available, during that period, or maybe certain museums. But the majority of things are actually open.
Yeah, so it doesn't affect the booking for festive, huh?
Oh, no. Festive. I mean, aside from this year because of COVID, festive is still very, very high season for us, just like it is everywhere else. It's, one of the most busy times. But yeah, there might be a few individual experiences or sites that are not open.
Patricia, you're asking, do you plan journeys outside of Havana, birding, nature, outdoor experiences?
Oh, yes. Good question. Definitely. So let's put it this way. Probably 75% of trips are very Havana based. That's not it, that's just what people prefer, and it's a very easy destination, and there's so much to see and do. So those trips, 3 to 5 nights in Havana, no one ever gets bored, but we definitely do trips all throughout the island. And some that are very specific or sort of theme based, depending, again, because what we do is custom and private, it's on the desires of your client. So birding trips, Cuba's a wonderful place for birders. And there's an area, it's actually near the historic Bay of Pigs. That is one of the most amazing birding parks in the world. Private national park where we have very, very specialized guides that go in there. So that's an example. Scuba diving, incredible scuba diving, world class in Cuba. Fishing, especially fly fishing, it's a phenomenal destination for that. And then there's a lot of other very interesting cities throughout the island. The thing that's very important to know is that when you leave Havana, the next most interesting city, let's say, would be Trinidad. Trinidad and Cienfuegos. You may have heard those two cities. They're within 45 minutes of each other. But it's a 4.5-hour drive to get to those cities. And so we always just want people to be aware that a trip outside of Havana to the cities that are large enough and have enough going on that they would want to spend the night, and we wouldn't do it just as a day trip, there's going to be a significant drive from Havana to those locations. And for the most part, especially now, in the US, definitely, there's only flights right now back and forth to Havana. So any trip that someone takes where they're leaving Havana and driving around through the island to some of the other cities, we're going to create a route that goes back to Havana again because they have to fly home from Havana. So just things to kind of consider. In general, if someone is interested in doing more than Havana, and I don't mean just day trips, but going again to these cities, they should be thinking about Cuba as a 7-night destination, 7+.
All right, another interesting question. Vivian, David, what make you pick Cuba as a destination to sell?
What made me pick Cuba? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that is a good question. Um, I went to Cuba 10 years ago on a humanitarian trip. At the time, we were delivering pharmaceutical products to Cuba, and it was with a group of mostly doctors. And I was fortunate enough to be invited along. What I knew of Cuba was that I absolutely loved Cuban cigars and Cuban music. I knew a bit about history, but very much from the the revolution and onward, the stuff that most Americans kind of have heard of with, it's folklore at this point, the mafia situation there and everything to do with the Cuban Revolution and the Cuban Missile Crisis and all that. I was fascinated. I wanted to learn more. I went on this trip, but I was not prepared for what I experienced there. The people that I met, the culture, the attitude, the welcoming nature, and just the arts, the music and the dance, and was at a level I had not experienced. And I was a world traveler. I lived in Europe for over 10 years. I've been all over, and I just could not believe that this place existed 90 miles from Florida. And at the time that I went, so again, this was 10 years ago, most of the companies that were doing travel to Cuba were the big bus tours, as I call them, cookie cutter itineraries. And I don't try, that's just not how I like to travel. So I came back to the US, and this was in a time of my life where I had the opportunity to do something new. And I knew I wanted to choose a business that I was passionate about. It was more about passion than profits, let's put it that way. And so I started doing trips myself back and forth for a couple of years with family and friends. And then the business developed from there. It was, in a lot of ways, it was accidental, let's put it that way.
Voilà. But now you became a master of the destination, huh? Certainly the best DMC. Voilà. So.
It's taken some time, yes, but
You did it. Pauline, you want to
we've
know?
done it.
Yeah. Pauline, you want to know if Santiago is worth staying for a couple of nights?
I'll tell you what, Santiago is a fascinating city. It's the second largest city in Cuba. It has a very different feel than Havana. And if you're a fan of Latin music and jazz specifically, it's the home to a lot of interesting musical styles. So is it a great place to stay and visit? Absolutely. Here's the problem: 0 flights. And it is the farthest destination, basically, from, if you draw a straight line from Havana to get to Santiago. And even if you literally were, no one would just drive it straight, but I mean, it's 13 and a half, 14-hour drive. And again, we ourselves do not put anyone on the internal Cuban airline. There's equipment issues, there's reliability issues. Hopefully someday I won't feel that way, but right now, when it comes to taking any internal flights, no, we ourselves won't do it, and we won't put clients on them. So the key thing about someone going to Santiago, honestly, is that they just have to know that this is going to be a long trip, and a decent amount of driving. Of course, we'll make a lot of stops along the way. There's many interesting cities, and we'll do it in a, so we'll try to avoid as much double back kind of a route as possible. But in general, right now, I'd say that a Santiago trip, you've got to have your clients assuming it's going to be at least 10 night type of a trip.
All right. Yavana, you're asking what are the next 2 top hotels after Kempinski?
Yeah, that is a great question. For me personally, and this is what we recommend for our clients, if they're going to move from a 5-star hotel, and for some reason the Kempinski's not working out, or isn't their first choice, I'd rather look at some of the amazing boutique hotels and put them there. Art-filled hotels that have been fully renovated. They're like, former Embassy Row mansions and villas that have been, converted into hotels. They're gorgeous. Very, very small, 6 to 8 rooms. These are the kind of places that we recommend, after the Kempinski. But, I mean, part of the issue is star ratings you can't rely on when it comes to Cuba. So if you're looking at something online and it says 5-star, that means nothing. You've got to check with someone. Call us, and we'll talk to you about what the pros and cons are of various hotels. But when it comes to it, like if someone, let's say, just wants a smaller boutique because that's what they want, perfect. If they don't want to stay at something like the Kempinski because it's a budgetary issue, you have to go a few steps down in quality level to significantly impact budget when you leave the Kempinski. Mm-hmm. And therefore, that's why my next choice would be the boutique hotels.
Mm-hmm. And that's probably answer a dual question when you said, do you have different budget for those who do not want the new American type hotel and can do without some conveniences to feel like they're more experienced, Cuba?
Yes. So yes, I already sort of answered that. That's true. I do want to clarify something, like even the Kempinski, I would not call that an American hotel by any means. It's not, first of all, an American hotel. So Kempinski is a Swiss chain. They are pretty good at creating a sense of place. So this hotel, for example, was a 100-year-old building that was gut renovated. It's beautiful, and it's right in the heart of Old Havana and everything else. People who stay there don't feel like, oh, I could be in a Ritz-Carlton or something, and I could be anywhere. It's definitely not like that. But is it for everyone? No. So I don't want to over push that hotel either. There's a lot of great reasons why you might want to forget that. You don't need a rooftop pool deck. You don't need this special cigar lounge or a spa or fitness center. The boutique hotels are amazing. But again, a lot of that also you have to take into consideration also location. So some of my favorite boutique hotels are, in the Miramar neighborhood or in sections of Varadero, which are not right in Old Havana. So it's just, there's trade-offs, right?
Wow. And you will work with each client as it's
absolutely. And a lot of clients, what we do is we do both. So if they don't mind, moving during their stay, 3 nights in one, 2 nights in another, for example, if it's a 5-night Havana stay, is a great idea. A lot of people like that.
I'm going to go back to the chat box because there were a lot of messages coming up. Anya, you wanted to know, can clients learn to dance at the Yavana Compass dance?
Yeah, so absolutely. The Compass dancers love to, when they're done talking and doing a bit of a performance themselves, they love pulling people up and getting everybody dancing. So that certainly happens. Sometimes it happens whether you like it or not. But in addition to that, it's very popular for clients to have salsa lessons. And we work with the oldest salsa school. I think it's probably the oldest salsa school that's been running continuously in all of Latin America. It's a really cool place, and so we like to bring people there and do an hour or so of salsa lessons. By the way, when we do that, each and every person has their own professional partner. So it's not like you're standing there and there's a leader in the front of the room teaching you the moves. You're literally dancing with a professional. It's a lot of fun, even if you're severely salsa challenged like I am. My hips just don't go side to side. I'm trying.
So Usha wanted to know if there is a way to get some sample itineraries. So.
Yes, of course. And, we can send you all kinds of documentation and information about us. We're a little gun shy about detailed sample itineraries, and I'll tell you why. Primarily, what we found, again, because everything we do is custom, when we send out a sample itinerary, or if your client gets a hold of it, it sometimes requires a lot of explanation to just get them to understand this isn't your itinerary. If you don't like this, or you think there's too much in here, or there's things you don't like, or something about it, it's like we're just careful because we want them to remember, no, we're just giving you an idea. This isn't your itinerary. You're not into Ernest Hemingway, okay, because it says there's a visit to Ernest Hemingway. Again, it's a sample itinerary. So what we usually like to do, we'll send more of like a catalog of all the cool experiences, things they can see and do, both in Havana, outside of Havana, day trips, just to kind of get people understanding that this is all part of what a Cuba trip can look like. And we, almost everything that will be in that document is included in our trips. We don't, there's no extra charges. We don't like to operate that way. We don't want people to pick and choose experiences because they think they're going to save a little bit here versus doing this or doing that. Not the case. So.
All right. So Joel, you were the one who, like me, said, I want to do all these things. That's exactly how it came. Huh? And now, Vivian, you all say, I want to go. So I think we're all ready. Corey, you're looking forward to returning to Cuba. Love the people and the music. Is December a good time to travel to Cuba? How much lead time should we consider for booking travel in December? He's asking Usha.
Is December a good time or?
December, yeah.
Oh yeah. So a little bit about the seasons. Seasonality for travel to Cuba again is mostly geared around climate. So I would say high season tends to be mid-November to April, largely due to the fact that it is the dry and more mild season, right? It's warm and lovely, but not super hot, right? So that's December's smack dab in the middle of that. I mean, it's a wonderful time to go. Right now, right, we're in January, just beautiful weather. Even in the let's say lower season of, let's say, when it's summer everywhere else in the world, it's still really nice. Can it get hot? Steamy hot, like steamy, sweaty Havana nights? Absolutely. But all of our vehicles are air conditioned, the accommodations are air conditioned. It's a casual location. Hot nights don't stop people from salsa dancing, not in Cuba. So really almost any time of year is wonderful. There is a rainy season, there's hurricane season, of course. It's a Caribbean location. So that would be September, like August, September, October. Rainy season is, hurricane season is really just rainy season if there's no hurricane, right? And rains come in the afternoon, cool things off, and then they go away again. There's rarely like all day rain. So it's even fine to travel during that period of time.
Yeah. Corey is asking, are Americans permitted to stay at the Kempinski now?
Yeah, thank you. There's the what do you call it? $1,000 question. Technically, here's what happened. The Trump administration, 5 days before the election, did another one of these things that he could just do by signing his pen, an executive order, and basically put every single hotel that is owned or partially owned by the Cuban government on a list that says Americans cannot stay there. Just to be clear, every hotel in Cuba is partially owned by the Cuban government. Therefore, Kempinski, even though it is a Swiss partnership, Swiss-German, and managed by the Kempinski, is also on that list. So the technical answer is no. Today, Americans should not, if they're following the letter of the law, should not be staying at the Kempinski Hotel. Do we expect that the Biden administration, just as easily as Donald Trump put that regulation in place, will take that regulation away? Yes, we certainly do. We don't know when. We don't know when. So the short answer to your question, for bookings that are done right now, until they reverse that restriction, we are putting Americans in the boutique properties.
Which are very nice.
Or there's one other choice, and that is if the travel is far enough into the future, let's say 6 months from now, and we expect this thing to be reversed, we will book both just to hold it. There's no money exchanging hands. No one has broken any laws. We have a very, very, very good relationship with the Kempinski parent company. And we have pre-deposited on rooms going out 5 years from now. So cultural Cuba is, we always have rooms available at the Kempinski. It's be very, very rare that we don't. So therefore, we're in a very unique position, and we can hold these rooms and a room at a boutique hotel. And if things change, we can move the client there. If they don't, and it still remains quote unquote illegal and they're not comfortable, we won't have them stay there.
And of course, this doesn't apply to our luxury travel advisor today from Canada, Mexico, Brazil.
It's only for the Americans.
Voilà.
It doesn't apply to anyone else.
No.
Just the Americans.
So Julia, you are asking, what about testing facilities prior to return to USA?
Oh, yes. Thank you. I meant to touch on that when I talked about the COVID slide. That's obviously a new requirement for anyone, Americans, when they return to the US, they have to have a negative test taken within 72 hours. We are including that in our trips. And there's a very nice, comfortable clinic in Havana that will be providing these tests. And, the guide and the driver will take the client to have that done within the time period necessary before their return. So
I'm smiling because I see Julia saying, I want to go with Vivian.
Good.
You're asking if the COVID test on upon arrival done at the airport or in clinic in Havana?
No, it's done at the airport. So they put in a row of nurses stations. And what happens is before you even get to the passport control, your first stop is you sit down in one of these nurses' cubicles. Mm-hmm. The nurses administer the PCR test and then give you a little card, and on your card is a number. They know obviously where you're staying. They have all that information. They're already going to have it from us, but again, mm-hmm. You fill out, there's forms that are filled out, and that's how they notify you. After the fact, but it is literally done. It's the first thing that happens when you get off the plane.
Mm-hmm. Same type of question is client arrive and are positive for COVID, is quarantine done at the hotel or government property? You said at the hotel, no?
Only if they're asymptomatic.
Okay.
So if they are positive and sick and mm-hmm. With real symptoms, no, they're not going to be allowed to stay at the hotel. There is a special clinic that is only for expats. It's not Cubans, for Cuban citizens. It's quite nice. I've been there myself. That is where they will end up going. But this is why, first of all, Cuba is requiring you to have a negative PCR test or a negative test done before you even get on the plane. But to be honest, we would require it anyway. We're not going to have anyone show up in Cuba with the risk of testing positive. But this is the same thing that's going on anywhere, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So Anya, you say also you want to do all the experience. So let's make a little group together with everyone attending the webinar. Huh? I think we all going to be on the first fun trips, and I see a lot of friends.
Listen, we would experience. Huh? We welcome you. We would love you all to come.
Melissa also, she said, I want to do it all. So you see. Alors, John, you have a question for David. I understand Six Senses is open and over the water bungalow in Cuba. Is it a reality? Have you heard?
Well, I think you're referring to the Kempinski. So the Kempinski opened up a resort called Cayo Guillermo. It's in Cayo Guillermo, which is one of the small little islands, on the Caribbean, on the where is it? It's the north coast. It's already open. It's actually closed right now, but it will reopen. And they have some overwater bungalows. So it is the first 5-star beach resort in Cuba. And yeah, we've had clients stay there. It's very, very nice. So they have a combination. They have a hotel, they have some casitas, which are on the beach, and then they have a couple of overwater bungalows. the only caveat to that place is that it is also a very long drive, just to be aware. So it's from Havana, it's about a 7-hour trip to get there. And again, there's no flight, but yeah, it's there and it's nice.
And you're going to make some interesting stop on the way, I'm sure.
Oh, of course, of
Voilà.
course. So for that kind of stay,
yeah,
you know, we never just, it's rarely, maybe on the way back, we would just do a quick, let's get them back 6-7 hour drive because they're catching a flight, or they're going to spend one night in Havana and then catch their flight. But on the way there, we create a route so that, you know, we break it up. It's actually a nice thing to do. There's a trip that we usually do that involves, if someone wants to stay at that resort, and we take them first a little further south and then east, and they visit Trinidad, and then from Trinidad it's a much shorter drive to go from Trinidad to Cayo Guillermo and spend a few days or a week at this beach resort before heading back to Havana to catch the flight home.
Mauricio, you have a question for David. Are payments made to a US base account? I ask this especially for commission payment purpose, as I realize Cuba is not like any other country out there.
Yes, another very, very good point. First of all, all payments are made safely in the US and can be made with credit card. So it's US dollar based. So no one is paying anyone in Cuba and in any other currency but US dollars. And commissions are all done through us also. So it's all done that way. It's a very good point. It's next to impossible to receive commissions from doing any kind of, forget about Americans, almost anyone that can do any kind of, even if you could do direct bookings with properties or tours or anything in Cuba, getting paid commissions on it would be next to impossible. So.
Anya, you accept credit card payment? Yes, you do, and you don't charge any
yes,
fee,
yes.
No fee.
99% of our payments are received through credit card.
Shari, we already answered when you said, is it possible to stay outside of Havana? I think that was part of another previous answer. The top hotel in Kempinski, I think, beside Kempinski, we already answered. Bobette, you would like to know, how about church trips?
Yeah, so actually, we do quite a bit of that, and it's very popular. There's of all different faiths. So Christianity, Catholicism. We've done a lot of Jewish trips. There's very interesting history, beautiful churches and cathedrals. So it's a popular destination for religious groups. We always make sure that, you know, if we can, that it's not going to be only focused on that one aspect, because there's so much else to see and do, and almost every traveler wants that as well. So it becomes like the theme of the trip might be a particular religious focus, but you know, we extend that quite a bit.
Rosanne, you want to know if there is no train to Trinidad for overnight?
No, and you know, the public transportation is also something that is severely lacking right now on the island. It needs a lot of improvement. You know, and I'm not talking about just for the tourists, also for the people that live there. But anyway, so yeah, it's not an option. When you're traveling within the island right now, you're going to be traveling by vehicle. And with us, of course, it's private vehicle.
So you're in good hands with David.
Yeah.
Vehicles. And John, you want to know if there is any luxury hotel in Varadero?
So Varadero has many like what they call 5-star resorts. I'm going to tell you right now, I would say at best call it 4.5 stars, even the nicest ones. A lot of the nice ones, they're affiliated with the Malia chain or Iberostar, for example. They're fine. They're okay. The food is probably my biggest complaint. Even in the nicest of the all-inclusives that are in Varadero, I find the food to be a bit lacking, and that's unfortunate because actually there's really good cuisine in Cuba. It's not what it was 5 years ago. You know, they have fantastic chefs and delicious food to be had, but mostly you're going to experience the good food in Havana. So as long as the client's expectations are, you know, properly explained and set, they should, you know, these hotels are fine. They're clean, they're safe, the beaches are beautiful. But again, true 5-star luxury, aside from the new Kempinski, which is not an all-inclusive, all of the rest of the hotels, again, in Varadero, just all-inclusives.
Corey, you want to know what type of vehicle for private FIT for 2 guests?
So we have a fleet of 1950s American cars that we primarily utilize if it's a smaller group. We have you know, multiple vehicles for that, but of course, you know, that works great for, let's say, 2 couples or a family of 3 or 4, because again, we have a guide as well as the driver, and we don't want it to be too tight. These cars are gorgeous. We've renovated them in the sense that we have installed air conditioning as well, which is important. So that's the kind of first vehicle that we utilize. For larger groups, we have like Mercedes Sprinters, I guess would be the best way to put it. So we have some that are Hyundai and some that are actually Mercedes, and that's what we use. But I'll tell you this, everyone without fail will have the opportunity to experience driving around in the classic American cars. It may seem touristy or cliche or something when it comes to a trip to Cuba, but it's awesome and it's real and it's part of the culture now. And so we want everybody to experience it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, David. Pauline, you're asking, there is a lot of street art.
Lots of what?
Street art.
Street art. Oh yeah, everywhere. In different, you know, and like any street art, like some that is just, you know, okay, you're going to walk right by. It's not great, but yeah, there's street art, like nice street art can be found as well. And for those that are looking for a little bit higher level art, you know, more collectible kind of art, we do a lot of art focused tours. So the Cuban artists are really having their day right now. There's exhibitions going on and have been for the last several years in all the top galleries throughout the United States and in Europe. And so, you know, these phenomenal artists are available, but what's the way it works in Cuba, there's very few galleries. So it also becomes part of the experience. We arrange these visits and you actually go to the artist's home. Mm. You meet the artists. Their studios primarily are in their homes. So even people who, you know, aren't necessarily art collectors really enjoy that. And sometimes we'll do that, you know, spend a half day just going to a couple of artists' homes.
Mm-hmm. Judy, you're saying how to decide to stay in downtown Havana versus beach hotel, but I think maybe David, you already kind of answer the difference already.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's 2 totally different locations. So what I would say is this. Cuba, it's really hard for me to assume someone going to Cuba only for the beach, right? I know it happens, and if someone has been to Cuba many times and already experienced the culture and they just want beach, great. Mm-hmm. But just so you know, like the really nice beaches are not anywhere near Havana, so there's going to be a drive involved, and they can stay there. But for someone who hasn't been and experienced it, you know, I would never sell Cuba primarily as a beach destination. There's so many beautiful Caribbean islands that are really pretty much just about going to the beach. Mm-hmm. Cuba is so much more than that. And so the idea is even those people who probably are mostly looking to just relax, hang out on the beach for a week or more, still would try to encourage them to spend a couple nights in Havana before we drive them out to their beach destination.
Yeah, I think a good combination.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Judy, you're asking if it's true that one should travel with US cash for purchases made on island, limited acceptance of credit cards.
Yes, that's absolutely true. It's still true to this day. I'm not sure when that, I think that would take probably a full lifting of the embargo. for that to change. So American credit cards do not work in Cuba, nor will your ATM card, for example. So anything that someone needs to pay for that isn't already covered with our trips, and let me just say 90% of what anyone would ever spend traveling through Cuba will already be prepaid with us, right? Safely in the US using your credit card. That has to be cash. So, and yes, US dollar is king, or euro. Euro's fine. If it's a Mexican client, Mexican peso. I mean, any of the other, foreign hard currencies are fine. But yes, you bring dollars and you don't need to exchange it. In fact, they've done away. There used to be a dual currency in Cuba, and very recently they've done away with what's called the convertible peso. So there's no need to exchange, and everybody will price for you very simply in dollars. So it's what you're doing. But we are, again, because so much of we make it so that very little cash needs to be brought, but we explain that really carefully to you and to your client, so they know how much they need. We don't want them to run out, right? But we also don't want them to think they got to bring a suitcase full of cash with them when they travel to Cuba. They really won't need much. And it's a very safe destination. I should touch on that. Not just is it safe from traditional like tourist type crime, like pickpocketing or that sort of thing. It's very, very rare, but incredibly safe. There's almost no violent crime in Cuba. There are no guns. They're completely illegal. Only the military or police have weapons of that nature. It's the kind of place, females can feel very safe traveling alone or in groups. It's, I can't stress that enough. And it doesn't matter, even in the middle of the night.
Yeah, thank you. Melissa, you want to know how long would you suggest to do it all if staying in Havana? Is 6 to 7 nights too long?
If you're only going to do Havana-based trip,
stay in Havana, yeah.
Yeah, so Havana, I would say, no. I mean, I've had clients stay in Havana 10 nights and not feel it was too long, but the majority of our trips are, 4 or 5 nights, say, as short as 3 nights to maybe 6 nights, I would say would be ideal. Now, keep in mind, if someone were to do that and want to spend 6 nights in Havana, we are going to take them on day trips out into the countryside anyway. We'll take them to Vinales, the famous tobacco growing region. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to visit. And we can take them to Varadero or to some of the other beach destinations that are within driving distance, because the Varadero is actually only 2 hours away, and we can take them there for the day. So certainly there's enough to do. They will not be bored or think that, they should have had a shorter trip.
Vivian, you're asking what is the approximate price for 6 nights for 2 people who do not mind going to hotel? Just an idea.
Okay. So again, everything we do is custom and private. I don't mean to be. I'm not laughing at the question. It's a great question. It's because of that. It's like it'd be hard for me to like really throw a price at you on a very specific trip. So we have a range just to kind of make it somewhat easier. The things that affect pricing with us primarily are seasonality, the number of people, obviously the length of stay, but the biggest one, of course, is accommodations. So when we say there's a budget range, usually the way we are trying to work within someone's budget would be by accommodation. That's how we, generally will save more money. But the range goes anywhere from, let's say, $550 per night per person to, $1,000, something like that. But again, when we're quoting pricing, also want to be clear, we are not a wholesaler, right? We're not just booking a hotel room. So when I quote a price, that price is all inclusive. It's a private guide, full time, private driver and vehicle, every single activity and experience on their itinerary, a completely custom itinerary, visas included. Again, 90% of any money they're going to spend is already built into that range.
All right. So Roseanne, easy to get ballet Ballet Alicia tickets program is planned in advance?
For anyone who wants to see a performance at the Alicia Alonso Theater,
Yeah.
yes, very easy. We arrange that. We arrange it ahead of time if it's going to be a performance that we're pretty sure is going to sell out. And our clients, of course, are not just sitting anywhere. We have special VIP tickets for them.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, for those who don't know, Alicia Alonso unfortunately recently passed away. Famous prima ballerina. The entire dance theater is named after her. The ballet in Cuba is world class, at the highest caliber, and the building, the theater, it's just gorgeous. So even if you're not really into ballet, it's an experience that's worth trying out. And so when there are performances, it's in season, we will, we definitely arrange it. Yeah.
Thank you. Roseanne, you wanted to know, no train between the city, huh, David? No train,
No.
huh? Voilà. I see a lot of people wants to be added to the fun trip, huh? Nina, Melissa, Shari.
Great.
Voilà, terrific presentation. I mean, many who have not been working with you are saying they're happy to find a great partner. Huh?
Very happy. I'm very happy as well. And I appreciate that. Thank you. Listen, it's our mission to get everyone there. So please let us know. Like I said, our travel advisor partners, we really view this as a partnership. You're critical to us. And you're on the front lines. And as we get travel back, it's you guys who have to start. You have to travel, obviously within reason, and be safe. We all have to be very safe, but I think people are waiting for us to show them the way.
Yes.
That's our jobs. We're the gurus, right? So yeah, we want you to come. We want you to come and post wonderful photos and tell your wonderful stories of your experiences there. It's so important.
Sorry, David. Usha, are there private boats that could take us between destinations?
Yeah, the boat situation is always one that's a little more challenging right now. Cuba maritime laws are difficult. So, let's call that a work in progress. We had this thing that was well set up, and then we had to close it because of certain regulations within Cuba. Then we had to close it because the US government right now will not allow private vessels, private yachts. Just so everyone knows, right now, anyway, again, we expect Biden to change this, but the Trump administration has restricted no private yachts and no private jets can land from the United States in Cuba. That doesn't apply to the Canadians. It doesn't apply to anyone else in the world, just the Americans who might be on this call. But that's the situation. So,
Caroline, you want to know, are they Cuba open to the LGBT tourists?
Oh yes. And I'll tell you. So it's really interesting. For a socialist country, right? Very, very LGBTQ friendly, and Raul Castro's daughter Maria is a big proponent of LGBTQ rights. She has led the Gay Pride Parade the last 3 years running. This is the daughter of Raul Castro. And so there is a huge movement going on, and, all the way through to first of all, it's safe, it's open, and also, to be honest, for those, whether you are or you aren't of that persuasion, like some of the best, nightclubs and nightlife places that are around are like the gay bars and clubs. So, yeah, it's an open, friendly scene for the most part. And that type of travel is picking up quite a bit. So I can go on. There's really some interesting things.
I will do.
No, they have
the webinar.
Let me tell you one quick thing, because it's really interesting. They have a program. This is completely sponsored by the government. Cuba has socialized medicine, right? So That's all provided for their citizens completely free of charge. They have an actual facility called Cenesex, CENESEX. And the objective, and again, 100% funded by the government, is education, going around to schools, to make sure that the population is much more educated about sexual diversity and the challenges, and to stop bullying in schools and all of that. This is funded by the government, but they go even another step further. If someone wants to have a sex change operation, they have a counseling program that they have in place for them, because they don't want to do it unless, they put them through a counseling program, not to discourage it, but just to make sure, right? And then the government pays for it. It's actually provided under socialized medicine. And I'm telling you, that is very rare in the world. Very rare. So
many good things about Cuba, huh?
Yeah.
I think that was the last question. The rest I had to skip was every one of you say thank you for this wonderful presentation. To you, David.
Thank you. Hey,
and your
thank you all very much.
For the destination, it's clear, and we should all feel most comfortable in handling our clients up to you. Voilà. Thank you, Judy.
Yes.
And we will add your
I want to add, let me just add one thing. There's so much to cover. Right? We can't possibly cover it in an hour and a half phone call, and I'm so grateful that you stayed on this call this long and have so many great questions. But, we love working with you, with your clients. We will jump on a conference call. We can do a 3-way call, because again, it's not such an easy destination. A lot of people have never been there before, and some people have a mystique. There's a mystique out there that it's hard or it's difficult, or, oh, I don't know if I should go. And so please call us, bring us in at any stage in the sales process. If it's before proposal, during the proposal, afterward, we're happy to do so, and talk with you and answer questions, because it's inevitable.
And we have a new marketing initiative called Let's Connect 365. And now with a link, you can click directly on David and ask a 15 minutes or more special Zoom meeting with him personally.
Yes.
So
yes,
we will
I love that.
We will be sending that to you, and then you can take some time with some of our DMCs and Atelier. Huh? All right. Perfect. But thank you, everybody. I see, Vivian, you said you already packed. So I guess number one on the list.
It should be a very small suitcase. You don't need to bring a lot.
No.
Pack just your carry-on. That's all you need.
Shari is in Florida, and you're 90 minutes from Miami. Huh? It's correct, huh? The flight.
That's right.
Minutes,
huh? No, 90 miles.
90 miles, huh?
It's a 45-minute flight.
45 minutes flight. Huh?
Yeah.
No, so that's perfect. I'm in Shari with you because I'm also based in Miami these days. So we'll take the same plane. Huh? Voilà. Caroline is coming also with Vivian. Wow, perfect. So we are going to be a happy group, and we can't wait. We can't wait.
Good.
Jane also, count me in. Usha, count me in.
Me too.
Voilà.
Me too.
Thank you, everyone. Really was wonderful to have you. And David, thank you for your time again. And we'll see
Absolutely.
Third webinar.
Thank you all.
With a new subject.
Thank you all. Hope to see you soon with a mojito and a cigar.
Exactly. We have a deal. And then we want dancing and go to see the kids.
Oh, yes.
Huh? Thank you. Buenas tardes.
All right.
Boa tarde.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
have
everyone.
a great evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.